When you build something with your own hands, it becomes more than just wood and nails. It becomes a part of you, something you protect. That's how I felt about my bridge. A small wooden bridge that crossed a quiet creek behind my house. Nothing fancy, but solid. Built to carry my pickup, my tools, maybe a neighbor's ATV once in a while. It wasn't meant for the world, just for me, but apparently that wasn't good enough for my HOA. It started small. A letter here, a complaint there. But what began as petty nagging turned into something darker, something personal. The kind of feud that burns slowly until it explodes. And when it did, I made sure they'd never forget what I did next. When I moved into Willow Creek Estates, I thought I was done with chaos. The neighborhood looked perfect. Quiet streets, manicured lawns, and friendly faces. The kind of place where people smiled at each other from across the driveway. My property was different, though. Tucked away on the far edge of the development, where the cul-de-sacs ended and the woods began. My land backed up to a shallow creek, and on the other side was a gravel path that led to the main highway. I built the bridge there myself, every board, every nail done by hand. It wasn't part of the HOA's development. It was mine, my access point to the outside world. The HOA didn't care about it at first. They were too busy enforcing lawn height and mailbox paint shades. I paid my dues, kept to myself, and figured that was the end of it. But the peace didn't last long. It started with a knock on my door one Saturday morning. A woman stood there, clipboard in hand, wearing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Hi, I'm Linda," she said. "I'm the new HOA president." She looked around like she was inspecting the place. Then she pointed toward the back. "I noticed that little bridge of yours," she said. "Beautiful craftsmanship. We're thinking of starting a community maintenance route, and your bridge would be the perfect shortcut for our landscaping and construction vehicles." I told her politely. No, it wasn't designed for that kind of weight. It was private. Her smile didn't move, but her eyes changed. A flash of something sharp. "Oh, I understand," she said. "We'll be sure to discuss this at the next board meeting." That's when I knew she wasn't asking. She was warning me. A week later, I started finding letters in my mailbox. Violation notice. Improper structure near common area. Unapproved construction. They claimed my bridge, sitting entirely on my property, was encroaching on shared land. They demanded I either remove it or make it accessible for community use. I ignored the letters at first, assuming it would blow over. But the HOA doesn't forget. It waits, and then it happened. One morning I was drinking coffee when I heard a low rumble in the distance. It wasn't a car. It was heavier. I stepped outside and saw a massive cement truck crawling down my driveway. Before I could even shout, it rolled straight onto my bridge. The wood groaned. The handrails bent, and for a second I thought the whole thing would collapse. I ran down shouting, waving my arms. The driver leaned out and said, "HOA told us to use this route. Said it was approved access." Approved. By them. For their project. The new clubhouse they were building on the other side of the creek. I felt something in me snap that day. I filed complaints. I called the county. I showed property maps proving the bridge was mine. But paperwork moves slower than revenge. Meanwhile, the trucks kept coming. Cement, gravel, landscaping. Every few days they thundered across my bridge, tearing it apart little by little. Each time I tried to block it off, someone moved the barriers. Then came the fines. Failure to comply with community access. Obstruction of maintenance vehicles. Unauthorized. Signage. They were fining me thousands of dollars for protecting my own property. That's when I realized the HOA wasn't just trying to use the bridge, they were trying to break me down until I gave up ownership altogether. So I changed my strategy. I stopped complaining. I stopped sending letters. I stopped showing up to meetings. Instead, I started watching. Every morning around 7:30, a cement truck would rumble down. Same route, same driver, same routine. I noticed how he'd slow just before the bridge, then accelerate once he was halfway across. The wood flexed under the weight, groaning but holding. That bridge was tougher than they thought. So I reinforced it, just not in the way they expected. Over the next few days, I quietly worked beneath it, replaced a few planks, added support beams, and, Most importantly, installed a surprise. A weight-triggered collapsible section hidden under one side. It would hold under normal pressure. But once a vehicle over 10 tons rolled on, it would give way just enough to trap the wheels without causing serious damage. My goal wasn't to hurt anyone, it was to embarrass them, to stop them in their tracks. And one morning, I got my chance. The sun was barely up when I heard that familiar rumble. I stood on my porch, arms crossed, waiting. The truck rolled in. Same driver, same arrogance. And as it hit the midpoint of the bridge, the timbers beneath it shifted. The rear tires sank. The entire back end dipped into the creek with a metallic groan. The engine roared, but it was useless. The truck was stuck, perfectly balanced, half on land, half in water. I couldn't help but smile. Within minutes, half the neighborhood gathered to watch. The HOA board showed up soon after. Linda leading the pack, her face pale as she realized what had happened. She started barking orders, demanding I fix the bridge immediately. I told her the truth. The bridge was private property, and they had no right to use it. She threatened to sue. I told her to go ahead, and she did. The lawsuit dragged on for months. They accused me of creating a hazard, of endangering public safety, even of vandalism. But when the county surveyor got involved, everything changed. Turns out, the HOA had never filed for the proper easement. My property line extended 5 feet beyond where they thought it did, meaning my bridge wasn't just private. It was completely outside their jurisdiction. Their community access was trespassing. Every truck, every repair crew, every cement delivery, all unauthorized. The county fined them. Thousands of dollars for damage to private property. And me, I got to rebuild my bridge on their dime. When the verdict came down, I didn't gloat. I just sat quietly in that courtroom while Linda tried to keep her composure. Her voice cracked when she realized she'd not only lost control of my bridge, but also her position. The HOA voted her out a week later. The new president sent me a letter, an actual apology. Said they'd reassess community boundaries and respect private land. I framed it. These days, the bridge stands stronger than ever. I rebuilt it with reinforced steel beams, not because I needed to, but because I wanted it to last. Sometimes, when I stand there and watch the creek flow beneath, I think about how far things went, all because someone wanted control over something that wasn't theirs. People move into HOA neighborhoods for peace and order, but sometimes order turns into power, and power turns ugly. So if there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's this. Never let anyone convince you that following the rules means surrendering your rights. Because sometimes standing your ground, even over a little wooden bridge, is the only way to remind them where the line truly is.